Hello there everybody and welcome back to Contrast. Last episode we started to fix up the attractions in Johnny's circus. There's 3 things in total that we have to fix. We managed to get the balloon that had been lost, and this time we're going to take part in a little play that Johnny is putting on. Now this episode is probably going to have a lot of in-game dialogue as Johnny sort of narrates the story that we're going to take part in. So sit back and enjoy.
Hey, has anyone seen the princess puppet? We can't really start the story without her.
That sounds like Daddy.
Darn! Where did I put her?
I'm gonna get a word in when I can, but we're gonna hear a lot of Johnny speak in this episode.
Ah, there she is. Once upon a time, there was a princess who lived in a castle with her father, the king. The king loved her very much because daddies loved their daughters. Unfortunately, the kingdom also had an ogre who was eating travelers because ogres do that. So the king did what kings do and promised that anyone who slew the ogre would get to marry his only daughter, the princess, and become king when he died. The king's lands were very far away, and the ogre was very large, so only one knight showed up. His name was Fred, and he fell immediately in love with the princess. Fred was a brave knight, and he marched off the next morning, singing a brave song as loudly as he could. After several days had passed, the princess got to wondering what had happened to her future husband. So she set off into the forest to look for him. The princess tracked Fred's footprints through a strange wilderness full of scary sounds and hidden dangers. Chasms filled with razor-sharp bamboo. Fortunately, she was a very brave princess who loved adventures. Just like you. She used her wits to get past unexpected obstacles.
So again, we're kind of just going along the best that we can through this little story here. And keep in mind that when you're in this storybook, you are not allowed to use the dash. So when you're jumping, you have to make sure you time it right so it's not too early or too late. And that can be kind of challenging.
She came to a wide river filled with snapping crocodiles. She couldn't even swim. So what do you think she did?
She ran on top of their heads.
That's right!
And if you can get across that chasm with those alligators on your first try without getting eaten, you get an achievement for that.
It was a magical forest where the plants seemed to know each other. She had to use magic mushrooms to get high or up.
I find this to be a little bit tricky just because I can't use the dash, and I just barely missed it.
Unfortunately, she impaled herself on the bamboo. Wait, that's not what happened.
But you'll definitely want to press the first mushroom first, give it a second, then jump over to the third one, and then another second after that. Hit the middle one, and if you've done it with enough timing and spacing in between, you should have enough room to jump over.
She learned to use some bendy tree branches to fling herself across a patch of deadly sharp bamboo. As the sun was setting, she came to the giant ogre's campsite. And there, the princess discovered that the ogre had captured Fred and hung him from a tree as a snack. The ogre did not appreciate visitors at all. Even Fred seemed a little embarrassed to see her.
So here we have the fight with the ogre. And basically you have to hop up on his club and then get behind him.
The princess was a woman of action, and she was nimble, and the ogre was clumsy.
And for some reason that didn't work. I don't think the ogre hit me at all, but...
That's when you make fun of someone.
So we're going to try this again. We're going to get him to hit the tree branch here. And then we're going to climb over. And apparently I'm just not doing this fast enough. I think, like, the tip of the tree hit me. God forbid. There we go.
And so the princess tricked the ogre and rescued Fred. Fred didn't feel too good about it. He really loved the princess. Fortunately, the king told him about a giant spider that he could slay in order to win the princess's hand. So Fred marched off to the lair of the giant spider, singing a brave song, a little less loudly than before. After several days had passed, the princess got to wondering what had happened to her future husband. So she went off looking for him again.
And there's 3 of these sections in total.
Fred's footprints led her into a dark and creepy cavern, full of strange dripping sounds, kind of like the basement at school. Her footsteps echoed and echoed, until it sounded like someone was following her. Soon she came to a vast pit, filled with vicious, deadly spikes. It was much too big to jump over, but far off, she could hear moaning. She thought it might be Fred. So what do you think she did?
I know.
What?
She used an umbrella.
What?
Like that nanny in that movie.
This is the Middle Ages, honey. Where would she get an umbrella?
I don't know, but that's what she used.
I don't think I have an umbrella.
Well, you better find one, because she used an umbrella.
Where am I supposed to get an umbrella?
Well, we're gonna get an umbrella out of the handy chest, of course. So we need to hop out momentarily to grab the umbrella in order to advance on in the story.
There we go.
And this part's kind of fun,
So,
actually, I must admit.
The princess bravely threw herself into the air, slowing her fall using an umbrella. Just like that nanny in the movie. She floated down into the cave. Deeper and deeper into the cavern she floated. She thought she could hear Fred moaning. But maybe it was only the wind.
And you have quite a bit of control over this umbrella as you float. So it should be pretty easy to avoid all the spikes.
Finally, she landed softly. Right in a spider's web. Fortunately, it was a very old web, and she was able to break free. Unfortunately, the web was the only thing holding up a giant boulder. The princess needed to find somewhere to hide.
We were a little preemptive. We actually beat Johnny's storytelling there, but I wanted to make sure I beat the boulder and didn't get crushed. And we have another one of these sections coming up here as well.
Suddenly, a giant spider jumped out of the shadows and attacked her.
So you want to avoid the webs if you can.
She ran and climbed and jumped and climbed, but the giant spider was very good at climbing too. It had 8 legs and the princess only had 2.
And then when you get to the top, oh my god, if I could jump, that'd be great. I actually do want to hop into the webs.
The princess remembered how the webs were holding up boulders.
And then you'll want to stay to the left-hand side, as there's going to be some rocks falling on the right-hand side. And that will allow us to leave.
Spider.
Finally, she found Fred. He was all wrapped up like a present for the giant spider's girlfriend. He was dreadfully embarrassed about having to be rescued again. He really loved the princess. The princess decided he was cute. Fortunately, the king told him about a dragon that he could slay in order to win the princess's hand and stop being so embarrassed. So Fred marched off to the mountaintop of the dragon, singing a brave song very quietly. After a few days, the princess got to wondering...
Why her dad kept trying to give her away?
That too. But she was worried about Fred, so she went off to find him.
Damn it, Fred, not again.
The dragon's mountain was cold, and the wind howled at her to turn back. There were rock slides and fiery chasms. But she was very brave and nimble, just like you. She wasn't going to be put off by a few deadly dangers.
That rock almost got me, actually. I'm glad that I didn't keep running.
Up and up she climbed. When she got cold, she thought about the hot buttered muffins she would make once she got Fred home. Do you still like muffins?
I love muffins.
The princess hoped Fred liked muffins.
So this section is also fairly short. I didn't quite make the jump onto that geyser the way that I wanted. If I had, we would have been pretty much home free. There we are. If I would have just stayed in place, I would have had it.
When the princess got to the lair of the dragon, she was not very surprised to see Fred hanging from the roof of the dragon's cave. So she taunted the dragon until it roared its fiery breath at her.
So you have to get the dragon to blow his fire onto poor Fred here. But it doesn't really make any sense, because I'm pretty sure Fred would be burned to a crisp and very, very dead.
Finally, burning away the ropes that were tying up Fred. And so the princess and Fred lived happily ever after. Fred never had to go on another adventure again, and they had hot buttered muffins every morning. There is another version of the story where the princess flew off on the dragon's back to have a life full of adventures, but that's for another day.
Yay! Yay, Dawn, you did it!
So there we go, that's another ride down. We're slowly but surely making our way through this, and we only have one more ride to fix. So aside from a couple of luminaries that I didn't grab, we should be fine to go forward. We've gotten all the collectibles and such so far. So the very last ride that I have not yet been to is the pirate ship, and this one, from what I remember, actually takes quite a while. So this is a bit of a shorter video, but I'm actually going to stop it here, and we will continue on and we will fix our very last ride in the next video. Hope you enjoyed Johnny's play, everybody. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope that I will see you next time.